Welcome to Unbiased and On the Fence. I'm Shane. So glad you could join me. Well, everyone's favorite topic, forgiveness. Now, this is something I can imagine every single person on the planet has struggled with because we've all been done wrong in one way or another. Some people have really been done wrong. I remember as a kid going with my mom, she's always sort of been in ministry and things like that. She's passed away. She's been dead for 20 years or so now. But when I was a kid, I remember going to this lady's house, and I didn't know what they were talking about, but they were talking in the next room, her and this lady, and I'm playing with the lady's pet, a dog or a cat, I can't even remember, and just kind of being bored and waiting to go. But they were in there talking and crying and hugging and more talking and more crying. And come to find out later in life, I found out that she was a Holocaust survivor. And it didn't take long until I realized that the name Hitler was pretty much synonymous with evil. It's what everybody always considered to be, the ultimate evil was Hitler and the atrocities that he did. And so that was sort of one of my first clues growing up in the church and going out on my own and sort of thinking for myself that, if I slip up and I don't get into heaven, I'm going to suffer the same fate as Hitler in hell, burning forever. Just didn't seem right, And the more I looked into that, the more I realized that, if the payment for sin is to burn in hell for eternity, and Jesus paid for our sins on the cross, and he's not burning forever in eternity, things just weren't adding up for me. And now I see it was all, the whole just doctrine in general has had an evolution. You can follow it through history and see that, originally they didn't believe that. They believe you just died and you were gone. I mean, even I believe it's in Romans, Paul says that the wages of sin are death, not eternal suffering in fire. And I learned a lot of that when I was in the Seventh-day Adventist Church. But all of this still was pointing to a sort of a payment after death and of something that didn't seem just. And if there is no hell, what happens to somebody like Hitler? Does he get off the hook? Well, according to the information I found in Ra, now I want to sort of cover this concept art again here. And remind everyone how the Orion group is the service to self group, what we would call the negative group. This is a battery, not a smartphone, as one of my kids thought it was. But this is the positive side, this is the negative side, and we're sort of locked into this section. This is one octave of existence, our reality basically, but we're locked in this lower part at the third density. And although there's much activity up here, we can't see that. We're veiled right here at this line. And this whole ascension, the ideal of ascension, we're trying to push this up to where we can open up this fourth density. And this will be the positive side. And on my journey for truth and trying to track things down, I would have not thought yet the Yahweh group or Yahweh the individual that I grew up thinking in the Old Testament was God or whatever. I would not have thought he was on this positive side here once I really got into looking into Enlil and Inky and just the Anunnaki and all that information. It all sort of pointed to this Yahweh character possibly needing to be on this service to self, the I am and all of that. But after looking through the Law of One material and seeing that Yahweh did do some genetic manipulation and stuff in our past, but at some point his name was taken and others from the Orion group used his name and sort of distorted the things he had brought, even from the time of the Ten Commandments and everything. That was already at that point Yahweh had been hijacked by crusaders of the Orion group. But that's not what all this is about. I just wanted to sort of point out the service to self is the Orion group, and then the service to others is the Confederation, those helping us, Jesus and Buddha, and the Ra group, where the Law of One material comes from, and the Yahweh group as well. So I wanted to bring out this information from the Law of One about Hitler because I thought this was super interesting. Because when you think of Hitler, you think, well, hell's the perfect place for somebody like Hitler. But let me read this and then I'll sort of share my thoughts because I think this goes a long way with unforgiveness, and especially if you have people that's really done you wrong, maybe they killed somebody or just the worst things that people can possibly do to other people. I think Hitler is a pretty good example to point to. Because how could someone forgive somebody like Hitler? Like the lady my mom was talking to, how could she forgive Hitler for killing people that she loved and, torturing them and all that good stuff? So, or bad stuff, I should say. So here the questioner says, can you tell us what happened to Adolf Hitler? I am Ra. The mind-body-spirit complex known as Adolf is at this time in a healing process in the middle astral planes of your spherical force field. This entity was greatly confused and although aware of the circumstance of change in vibratory level associated with the cessation of the chemical body complex, nevertheless needed a great deal of care. Now, I thought it was peculiar that here he calls them the mind body spirit complex, but down here, the chemical body complex ended, and he needed a great deal of care. So further on, you'll see that he actually went insane, and but still, people would, like I was. My first thought was, why is he getting care? Why is he not being punished? And it sort of brought the idea to mind that when we are under review and we have to go and, we're basically, from what I hear, our own judge, and we have to judge ourselves and we have to feel the pain we caused. And, if he had to spend all this time feeling the pain of not only that woman that my mom, was feeling, but the countless other lives that he affected so negatively. And I mean, that would be a hell in itself, I believe. So to believe that there's no hell is one thing, but to believe that there's some sort of just system in place where people will have to feel the pain they cause, they'll have to see the overall picture of what they did and how it negatively affected people. Somebody like Adolf Hitler needing care makes a lot of sense because I can't imagine, having to see something over and over and over again. Each person he affected negatively, and uh, it would be a nightmare. It would be hell for somebody like Adolf Hitler. So, I mean, that's something that we should take into consideration that the pain we cause others, we'll have to judge ourselves harshly by reliving the pain we cause to others. And to me, that's more just than anything I've heard. And it's really for someone like this, like Adolf Hitler, it's not far from what you would consider hell because I can almost imagine just burning being better than having to feel the pain and relive all, because burning would just be sort of this physical pain. But if you had to relive all of the pain that, not only the physical pain you caused to others, but also the emotional pain and people that you didn't even directly affect them, but maybe you killed their loved one and then they felt that pain and just having to live out all of that and sort of put on the shoes of all these people that you affected so negatively, I can see why you would need a great deal of time to recover. So let me get back to the reading here. I would like, he asked to, I guess, go into a little bit more of the Adolf Hitler. This was about 20 sessions later. Ross says, in speaking of the one you call Adolf, we have some difficulty due to the intense amount of confusion present in this entity's life patterns, as well as the great confusion which greets any discussion of this entity. Here we see an example of one who, in attempting activation of the highest rays of energy while lacking the green ray key, canceled itself out as far as polarization either towards positive or negative. This entity was basically negative. However, in confusion was such that the personality disintegrated, thus leaving the mind-body-spirit complex unharvestable and much in need of healing. This entity followed the pattern of negative polarization which suggested the elite and the enslaved, this being seen by the entity to be of an helpful nature for the societal structure. However, in drifting from the conscious polarization into what you may call a twilight world where dream took the place of events in your space-time continuum, this entity failed in its attempt to serve the Creator in a harvestable degree along the path of service to self. Thus, we see the so-called insanity, which may often arise when an entity attempts to polarize more quickly than experience may be integrated. We have advised and suggested caution and patience in previous communications and do so again, using this entity as an example of the over hasty opening of polarization without due attention to the synthesized and integrated mind-body-spirit complex. To know yourself is to have the foundation upon firm ground. Well, I found that to be extremely interesting because so often I'm like, well, can I just, I mean, there's times when I go through these periods of just learning a lot at one time, like having so much revealed to me, and then I sort of have these periods of contemplation where not much new is being revealed to me, and you just kind of want to keep it coming sometimes, but here you can see that when you try to polarize too quickly, you can actually go insane from it. Now, I don't really understand all that, but I think this is helpful to see how someone like this does indeed have hell to pay, so to speak. I mean, it might not be flames and burning forever and ever, but I can see this was definitely an agonizing period of having to realize the pain he caused to others, and to see he failed even on the negative path. So I found that to be pretty interesting. I know forgiveness is a huge area that we have to go through because it can actually hold us back if we harbor unforgiveness. And so I found this to be helpful to realize that if you are having trouble with unforgiveness, just realize the pain someone caused you. Because many times, somebody does you wrong, you're just like, I just wish they could feel what I feel. They will feel what you felt and what pain and anguish they caused others as well. So justice will be served, and harboring unforgiveness is just holding yourself back and hurting yourself, and might cause you to act in ways you shouldn't act, and hurt other people, and then you'll have to feel that pain when you're in the review process. So I thought forgiveness is a big area. I know Jesus talked about it a lot. It was even in the Lord's Prayer to be forgiven the way we forgive others. I mean, it's a huge thing. And so yeah, just take that to heart and forgive. Just let it go. It's not your responsibility. Justice will be served. They will, at some point, justice will be served, and they'll have to see the pain that they caused you. And for you to hang on to it, you're just causing yourself needless pain and keeping yourself from being who you can possibly be. So I just wanted to say that and hopefully encourage you all as we move forward together in this learning process. So thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next episode. Have a good one.